Hello, friends. I'm JVL here with my friend AB Stoddard from the Bulwark, and we're here to tell you that everything's terrible. We're all going to die, and America is doomed. So lots of interesting news as of this morning. We're taping this on Monday, December 11th. We have some polls out today, AB. The first is the famous Seltzer poll from Iowa, the gold standard poll in Iowa. We are 1 month out, and we have Donald Trump moving up 8 points from 43 to 51%. We have Ron DeSantis inching up 3 points from 16 to 19. And Nikki Haley, who everybody tells me is surging, right where she was, 16. This is the largest lead that any candidate has ever had in the Seltzer poll 1 month out. I mean, it looks to me like there is a Republican surging in the field, but it's not Nikki Haley, it's Donald Trump. Am I wrong?
You are right. Vivek got a point from October. Christie flat, Nikki Haley the surger flat. It's amazing. I don't know how. I guess Ron DeSantis can be very excited about his 3 points. He has Bob Vanderplatz. He thinks he's really broken into the evangelicals and convinced them that somehow Trump after the trials could lose, so don't nominate him or whatever. Nikki Haley is really going in on New Hampshire, and I just don't think that I don't think that's a strategy that works. And this, as you're right, this is the gold standards. It's a Seltzer poll. It's never wrong. The only player that could hope, I think, for a surprise is Ron DeSantis, because he's going after Christians in Iowa and maybe is making some kind of an argument that he believes will surprise on caucus night, that all his organizing, that the governor, Kim Reynolds' endorsement and her infrastructure there is so valuable, it's going to shock the world. You could make that argument. You can't make an argument for Nikki Haley in Iowa. She's not gaining any ground, and her strategy is surprise in New Hampshire. And my question to you is, JVL, does New Hampshire even matter this year?
No. I mean, first of all, I'll say I'm a political professional like you. I place a lot actually on things like infrastructure and just the blocking and tackling of campaigns. If I told him that his infrastructure was so valuable that it would double his current vote share, double, right. 2x it, right? He would still lose by double digits.
Yes.
That's the point, right? I mean, this is how far back he is. And what people don't understand is that when Trump wins Iowa in a blowout, in a romp, the field will further consolidate in New Hampshire. This idea that Nikki Haley is going to finish third or even second in Iowa, and that's going to be a springboard. No, all of the energy is going to be around shut it down. Shut this process down. Why should we expose our nominee to any more unfair competition from these rhino losers? It's time for us to pivot to go stop socialist woke Joe Biden. And, like this idea that Nikki is going to suddenly, what is she down? 35 in New Hampshire, right? This is all fantasy.
I've got some fresh shut it down quotes for you to share.
Oh, please.
Senators, just like JVL said, Senator Mike Braun. I don't see a pathway for anybody else. If you're not rallying around him, you're giving tacit support to Joe Biden. Roger Marshall. At this point, they've all had their opportunity. All they're doing is hurting the Republican Party and paving the way for Joe Biden to get reelected. So it's hard when we talk about these polls, JVL, to even see that they don't try to shut it down before Iowa caucuses. Yeah. But yes, I think that this idea of there's going to be some major mojo surprise with the second and third contests, and somehow in February they're going to rock that boat is crazy. It's just this momentum that you described, this kind of rally around, is going to come immediately following the results on January 15th.
I think Haley will stay in through South Carolina because she sort of has to, maybe. But I think this entire contest ends after South Carolina. Yeah. I think everybody drops out and we don't get to Super Tuesday. Forget that. In other great polling news, CNN has a battleground poll out looking at Michigan and Georgia. And in Georgia, Two states, which Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden. In Georgia, he's now winning by 5, ahead of Biden by 5, which is great because in Michigan, he's up 10. Up 10 on Biden. So here's the thing, AB. And this is why I am so sort of depressed / angry / driven to distraction. I could understand it. I wouldn't agree with it, but I could understand it if Joe Biden was like Jimmy Carter's second term, right? If it was this hapless bungling from moment to moment with lines at the gas pumps and getting attacked by a rabbit while he was jogging and having to give malaise speeches where he tells people to turn your thermostat down over the winter and wear extra sweaters. And, like if it was really just a sort of rolling disaster, I could see it be like, yeah, well, people are going to turn to the authoritarian. But it's not. Wall Street Journal has this amazing headline today with a piece saying that despite the slow economy, law firms are in a bidding war for talent, with starting salaries sometimes reaching $255,000 a year. This is insane, right? If it was a slowing economy, Wall Street firms would not be in a bidding war for talent. That's insane. And this, again, I've done this all. I don't know if you listened to the focus group this weekend, AB.
Oh,
I was on the focus group.
It was an all-time favorite. The thing I just want to tell everybody is that everyone should be listening to all the focus group podcasts, but this one especially. JVL brings the receipts, every last one of them.
And this is what I don't understand. Like, things are good. In fact, I don't know that things can get a whole lot better than they are right now, right? I mean, this is,
right.
Oil production is very high, gas is low, inflation is, we are past the point of where the rate of inflation is slowing. Inflation is flat. There is no inflation month to month right now. And if this is what people are looking at, this world where median household wealth is up 37% from pre-pandemic to today, and saying, no, I guess, we got to go by double digits in Michigan for Donald Trump.
Record new business creation. And the most important data point, which you made on the focus group, is wage increases, keeping pace with inflation and helping the people in the bottom income sector. So, the people who needed it the most are getting, they're seeing their wages rise. So it is, as you've described so many times, all about vibes. And in coming here in sadness, fear, and rage, I have to try to remain perky as I describe all this stuff. So it's not too dark. There is an E.J. Dionne column out in the Washington Post, God love him, saying that Joe Biden has an answer to this polling malaise. And that he is going to talk about, and it is good news, he's going to talk about what I just described, that wages have risen for people who need it the most. He's going to talk about prices because he's been focused mostly on job creation and all the good economic indicators that you just listed, and it's not breaking through with people. So he's going to talk about how to lower energy and healthcare costs, and he's going to try to focus on corporations keeping prices too high. And I don't know that will break through because nothing has, and things are so much better, as you described, than people will admit to or vibe on. But I think it's, it is a good place to start, that they've recognized that this data is not breaking through. And if people only want to focus on prices, build like a big Trump branding conversation around how his solutions to this are going to be the best ever. I think it's the only way. That the thing about the poll you just cited in Michigan and Georgia that made me so crazy was that there is an electorate that skipped 2020 that Trump is going to tap into, and that's really helping him in these polls. And they break for Trump against Biden in Georgia by 26 points and in Michigan by 40.
That's great. That's great. Good luck, America. Let's talk a little bit about Ukraine. We have this thing where we've got 36 hours to get a deal on funding for Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan, because now the neocon hawk party are the Democrats and the Republicans are the isolationist chickens. JD Vance was on one of the shows over the weekend, and was it basically like, look, Russia has already won. Let's just, get this over. Was that basically his pitch?
No, the reason that JD Vance is so scary is that he's smooth and his Ukraine argument is good to the middle of the road, exhausted American. He is silky, JVL. He's so smooth. So on CNN, he sat there and said, no one ever thought that we were going to, the idea was that that Ukraine would give territory that Russians, go back to 1991 borders. He also makes the case that Russia is so weak that too many Ukrainians are dying. The average age of the Ukrainian fighter is 43. It's tragic. They're financially ruined. Killing has to stop. He wants the good people of Ukraine to stop being killed, and that Putin is weak enough that no, he would never invade another nation. He just doesn't have it together. And so it's really okay if we give him part of Ukraine and move on. But he was saying that he wants to know what the American ambition is, the plan, the strategy, that why, what is 61 billion going to accomplish that 100 million hasn't? And he sounds very reasonable, and he's going to be Trump's front man, and he's really good at it. And it was really depressing. And of course he went back to NATO.
This is the same JD Vance who during his Senate campaign said that he didn't give a crap about Ukraine, right? I guess now he cares about it and has decided to learn something about it. That's great. Okay.
I would really encourage people.
Thanks, Hillbilly.
Yeah, the fact that he has become a chief Trump surrogate is really his answer on abortion and why we should help families have babies. First of all, anyway. We'll talk about that another day. But his answer on Ukraine was as smooth as it gets, and it was infuriating. And if you look at the polling, as we know, Zelensky's going to come back this week. JVL. Are the Republicans in Congress going to give him a better hearing than they did in September when he only met with senators, when McCarthy wouldn't let cameras in the room, wouldn't give him a private meeting, and the House Republicans didn't even meet with him? I just feel we're at a very frightening tipping point where Trump is convincing Republicans to not approve this Ukraine aid at all.
So this is an interesting sort of technical issue. So we have the Republican position is now we're going to hold aid to not only Ukraine, but Israel and Taiwan hostage unless you give us what we want on immigration. Yeah. But they won't say what they want on immigration. So to their credit, the House Republicans have put forward an actual bill, H.R. 2. Their position is give us H.R. 2 and we'll give you the aid. But in the Senate, the Republicans haven't even done that. Last week, Chuck Schumer sort of offered them, I forget the technical term for it, but it was basically a clean amendment. Said, you guys you can say whatever you want. You just put your ask down on this amendment and then we'll negotiate from there. Republicans wouldn't do it. Like, how do you have a negotiation with somebody who won't state their ask?
When Senate Republicans who've been in the Biden coalition on Ukraine, led by Senator Mitch McConnell, their leader, for all this time, when they start backing away from that and making that demand, when they know that this idea that Putin would win in a standoff with the U.S., that wouldn't encourage Xi in China to then move on Taiwan eventually. I mean, they all know that, and they're all in these briefings, and the idea that they would back away to me is directly connected to Trump's momentum in the primary and the fact that it's all shutting down and that they are being discouraged from helping Biden or helping the Ukrainians. And in the end, what is in that effect? They're helping Putin. It's just so much more consequential than people are. It's not just another CR fight. The idea that this, probably JVL, they end up, if this ends up at an impasse, I don't know, maybe they help they pass Israel aid. Maybe there's something, but I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, that the goal is to to block security aid to Ukraine, and that they will continue to move the goalposts on that immigration ask. It'll be slippery the minute he moves on asylum and Biden gets hell from the left of his party. They're going to switch it to another policy, and that he won't be able to give them something that gets military aid for Ukraine.
So there is no deal to be made, basically. Yeah, their goal is to kill the aid for Ukraine, and the immigration reform is just
I want to be wrong
fiction.
So badly.
I mean, look, it's not an accident that Heritage is this week hosting Viktor Orban and a bunch of Republicans from Congress to sit and talk about ways to try to stop the Ukraine funding and help Russia. I mean, the Republican Party is just objectively pro-Russia at this point and pro-Putin. I don't know that there's any other way to look at it. And this is, I mean, if you want to know who's going to win the war in Ukraine, the answer is we'll wait until the election here, because Donald Trump, that is going to determine, the American people are going to determine who wins the war in Ukraine, which is a thing that I can't imagine if you are Ukrainian and you've suffered through the last couple of years and, seen all of the sacrifice, all of the dead, seen all of the carnage. And then it turns out that a bunch of people who just bought pontoon boats over the course of the last year and a half, but think their economy is shitty, are going to just determine whether or not you get to be subjugated by the Russians or not. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm really also happy to report that the latest CBS YouGov poll has Biden at 61 disapproval on the Israel-Hamas war.
That's
because
great.
He can't do anything right.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's awesome because he's done everything that...
Not in Israel, by the way. I haven't seen polling on Biden's approval rating for how he's handled this stuff in Israel, but I imagine it's fucking high.
Basically, they would prefer him as prime minister than Ben Netanyahu. But yeah, young people split 50-50, but basically that you could get when he's doing everything Republicans would ask for, and the middle of the country as well, that you could get to 61 disapproval is stunning. Because he's handled it as closely to perfect as you can, given the circumstances.
That brings us to our final topic, Hunter Biden. So Hunter Biden has been indicted yet again by the federal government, which his crime family supposedly controls, this time by the DOJ on tax evasion charges. He is facing, this is a really serious set of charges. Our friend Kim Whaley has written about this for us. Chris Murphy, Democratic senator, was asked over the weekend, are these charges politically motivated? Chris Murphy, a Democrat, said, no, these are very serious charges. Chris Murphy was asked, should children of politicians be able to profit from their family's involvement in politics? Chris Murphy said, no, absolutely not. So this isn't hard, right? This is what a normal functioning governing party that is committed to the rule of law does. This is what it says. This is what it acts like. And yet, AB, as sure as I'm sitting here, I'm telling you, this is going to hurt Joe Biden. Everything is being done properly with regards to Hunter Biden, as it has been from the beginning. And the net effect of that is people in polling are going to say, well, Joe Biden is just as corrupt as Donald Trump. They're all corrupt, amazing. Aren't they all the same?
He does not come out and say that this is unfair and it's a witch hunt and that he's going to pardon his son. He is silent as the Department of Justice does its work. People have looked at this and said, while it is fair and is prosecutable, that perhaps if it wasn't Hunter Biden, that the charges wouldn't have been brought. But if you're trying to weaponize the DOJ, you're not doing a great job because they are doing their job. And as you point out, instead of Americans looking at this and saying, wow, I guess when you let your Department of Justice, according to Donald Trump, prosecute your own son, I guess actually what Trump is saying is probably BS. Trump will attempt, and so will the Republicans, to say everybody crimes around.
See, they're just as guilty. Look at Hunter Biden.
Everyone's corrupt, and that's. Look, I'm really glad. Just as you said, I'm glad to see when push came to shove, and this was real violations that they did indict him. I mean, the idea of finding out 8 months from now in a leak from the DOJ, JVL, that
Yeah.
somebody, withheld would just break me. So I don't want to inflict any pain on Hunter Biden, but he's got to pay for his crimes. But I mean, the idea that the public will look at this in the midst of these Trump indictments and blow it off is
This
just
is
so
what's going to
mind-numbing.
happen. When again, this is adherence to the rule of law. This is how these things are supposed to happen. This is how all of the Trump indictments follow that too, right? This idea that like Biden has indicted Trump. No, the Biden, we have no allegations that he's ever spoken about this with the Attorney General. The Attorney General moved to a point and remand all this to a special counsel at the moment Donald Trump said that he was going to start running for office. Anyway, if the people can't look at this stuff and understand what's going on and what the real deal is, then this country deserves everything it has coming.
Yeah, we are going to get the president that we deserve. We are just going to hope that the we who deserve it are a little more informed and engaged and interested in preserving the rule of law than you and I think today.
Maybe. AB, why don't we do this again next week?
I'm happy to dark out with you anytime, JVL.
Bye.